I started my journey of sexual and relational wholeness 19 years ago at age 51. It was the fall of 2004, and I confessed my involvement with pornography to my church's men's group on a Friday morning. And this problem, it started around age 8 or 10 in my life. Initially, my journey started out like most other men. After the confession, I felt like, something's different. I need to keep moving forward here. And so I wanted to stop the behavior. That was my goal. I wanted to stop the behavior. And that's what I focused on. Eventually, God did lead me to victory, and I have 16 years of sobriety. All praise to God. Change did not come easy, and relapses just reinforced of how I thought of myself in my own mind, and that is that I was a loser. The one person I could count on for support was my wife. So I have spent the last 19 years learning what it is like to love your wife sacrificially, that it talks about in the Bible, and attempting to be the father to my two sons who were also harmed with my addiction.
I'm grateful for your sobriety and your recovery. Can you share with us a little bit about your work with MBF? How'd you come here?
So in 2010, I met Dwight Walker, and I was wanting to continue on ministry, and so I met Dwight, and he invited me to come to leadership training and to join with Mid-Valley Fellowship as a small group leader with our support program evening that we have. I know that seeking to help other guys find sobriety like I found was my desire, and that required that I continue working in my own life. And so even though I was a leader, I felt like a participant, because as we would go through those lessons, I devoured them just like a participant, and I learned so much. The books that we use are just so awesome and giving us a very broad perspective of our struggle and everything. So I wanted to learn what it was that drove me to porn and to acting out. I knew something was driving me there, but I didn't know what. In 2018, Dwight asked if I would start counseling with men one-on-one, and that was a big step, being in group versus one-on-one. And by the way, I've been a part of the small groups ever since 2010. I have not missed a year since then, so I'm starting my 13th year of that. But after Dwight asked me if I would consider counseling one-on-one, after praying about it, after counsel with other spiritual leaders, people in my life, I said, okay, let's start out, and we started out slow. And today, my 5th year anniversary was in August of when I started, and my counseling calendar is almost full. It gives new meaning to the verse in the Bible that says, the fields are white unto harvest, but the workers are few.
Yeah, I can attest to Dwight's got a full calendar. Dwight, can you share with us, you mentioned your wife and learning to be a good husband to her. Can you tell us a little bit about how she was impacted?
Well, at first, I didn't realize how she was impacted. Like most guys, I thought I was a pretty good husband, But as I grew in to learn more about my struggle, I soon learned that the change I needed was truly a heart change, that it was more than a behavior change. And only God can do that. As he began to work in me, I began to see the ugliness of myself. In Matthew 22, they, being the Pharisees, they asked Jesus, "What is the greatest commandment in the law?" And Jesus said, "To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength." And the second one is like it, and that is to love your neighbor as yourself. Well, I had a problem. I could love God, but I didn't love myself. And if I don't love myself, then how can I love my neighbor? Because I knew myself. I knew of all the things I'd done and said and everything like that, and I just thought, how can a God of love love me, a sinner such as I? And it was just so foreign that I just knew that didn't apply to me. And so this was the first area God had to work to help me see that I was loved unconditionally. I had to confront grace because it made no sense to me. This idea of earning my salvation, while I don't think I consciously saw that, the idea that I had to work for God's love, that was my thought. And God let me know that his love was available for me and for all of us, free. His grace is free and available to all, including me. Luke 7 tells when Jesus was invited to a Pharisee's house to eat, and a woman came in and began to wet his feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair and kissed his feet and anointed them with perfume. When the Pharisee saw this, he became indignant in thought, and Jesus, knowing his thoughts, told him this parable. 2 people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii, the other 50. Neither of them had the money to pay him back, so he forgave the debts of both. Now, which of them will love him more? The Pharisee said, the one who had the larger debt. Then Jesus turned his attention towards the woman. Do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman from the time I entered has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown. But whoever has been forgiven little loves little. You know, and as I contemplated God's grace, I became that woman in that story. I felt like God forgave so much of my sin. And what else could I do but love him with all of my heart? I just seemed like I couldn't get enough of loving him. And as he filled me with his love, it poured out to my wife and those around me. So, how does that impact the person closest to you? Well, for the past 19 years, I have attempted to make amends to Debbie for the hurt I put upon her, and I found it was an ongoing process. She was always so gracious to accept my amends and forgive me, but occasionally the old man came out in times of stress or anger or fear. And so it seemed like the path to her doorway of asking for forgiveness was a well-worn path. Yet she never judged me or condemned me. She just loved me. In November of last year, we celebrated 48 years of marriage. Actually, our anniversary will be next Thursday. 44 of those years, she struggled with multiple sclerosis. In her times of self-doubt, I tried to encourage her, to affirm my love for her, that I was there to help her through anything she might experience. God had worked so much in my heart to love her in a sacrificial way by making myself available to her when she needed help, but it wasn't always the physical things that she needed help with. But God was working in my heart that translated to being available to her emotionally, which was something that was very foreign to me. I often missed the mark, but we had lots of opportunities to practice. For the last several years, her needs for assistance increased, Debbie would often apologize for needing help, and I found myself assuring her there was no place I would rather be than helping her.
Yes, and that's how I came to know you, is caring well for your wife. Can you share with us a little bit about what this past year has been like?
As Debbie's health began to decline this past fall, I found myself at a crossroads one evening coming home from the hospital full of despair and sadness, realizing that in her present state she would not be coming home ever again. I desperately wanted to bring her home to recover, but it wasn't working out. I remember thinking that night, I'm alone. I could look at porn and escape. Oh, I wanted to escape. But that wasn't an option. That hadn't been an option for an awful long time. I was surprised I even thought about it, but you know, Satan never misses an opportunity. Instead, when I got home, I sought the Lord. I opened up my Bible, and he gave me Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 8. It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. That evening, I knew that no matter what the outcome, God would be with me. Eventually, the doctors told us she would not recover. She was in the hospital for 26 days and 11 days in hospice at home, and she passed away on December 21st, 2022. My job of helping her had ended. What am I going to do? I had cared for her, and the last thing I did for her was help usher her into the hands of Jesus. I rejoiced that she was with Jesus, yet I had a sadness upon sadness. I've learned how to love myself so that I could love others, and I also learned to let others love me. Now was the time to live that out. I allowed myself to cry if I needed to cry, feeling no reason to run and hide. Family and friends loved and supported me and continue to encourage me. I want to say one thing about tears. I heard a psychologist say that when we're under stress, our body produces cortisol. If it produces too much cortisol, that leads to depression. But they've also found high levels of cortisol in tears. I don't think I have suffered with depression this past year. April 26th of this year, I had hip replacement surgery. For the past 2.5 years, I had pain in my leg and hip whenever I walked, yet I was able to transfer Debbie and not feel pain. Lord, thank you for your strength. June 2nd, 2023, I thought I was having a stroke because suddenly I couldn't talk. So I spent 3 days in the hospital only to be determined that I did not have a stroke. Eventually, I was diagnosed with a neuromuscular disease called myasthenia gravis. And I spent most of June struggling to eat, talk, swallow, and my eyelids were drooping. However, so that happened on a Friday night. I spent Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and I was released Monday afternoon from the hospital. Tuesday afternoon, I met with a client again. I felt God wanting me to continue counseling, and here I had struggled to talk. Why would I do that? But yet, that's what God led me to do. I visited with Dwight, we talked about it, and we decided to give it a try. Imagine that, trusting Jesus, huh? As I met with my clients and shared with them what was happening, not one person took a break or stopped their sessions. God was definitely in this. Only 4 days had passed from the onset of the disease to resuming my counseling. I look back on my journey that started with a desire to stop viewing pornography, and along the way, he changed my heart. I don't know when he did that, but I know that somewhere on this journey, my desire to please God became stronger than my desire to escape my issues. I lived in fear that someone would discover my secret life, and knowing full well the judgment of rejection and shame that would result, but instead I received love and acceptance. And that's a thing that we have to get into our minds here. If you struggle with that and you fear rejection and shame, that's a lie from Satan. Chances are you will be met with love. I've learned to stop seeking the approval of people and start getting my value and worth from God, who loves me and does not judge me by my behavior. Today I accept God's grace, allowing myself to be fully loved by God and to be able to show God's love to others. The Lord has guided me in his ways, and I know he will continue to do so.
Thank you for sharing so vulnerably. It's been a tough year, and you've given God glory all along the way. So there may be some individuals out here that can relate with some of your story. Is there any last thoughts that you'd have to share with them?
You know, when it seems like when we go through difficult times, we want to isolate. We want to pull away. We want to stay home. We don't want to mix with other people. And you know, that's the worst thing that we can do. God calls us to be in fellowship with other people. And I know that the work God did in my life leading up to this year, I know the work that he's done in the last 19 years prepared me for this year. That I could give God the glory, that I could rejoice where my wife is, that I could be sad that she had passed, but I did not feel pain, I did not feel hurt, because I knew where she went, and I will be there someday with her. So, you know, reach out to someone. If you're struggling with issues in your life, with anything at all, it doesn't have to be just sexual brokenness, but reach out, talk to someone. There is healing in talking to other people.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, thank you, Dwight.